Welcome to Southern Sense Talk on Rumble. You are going to love Annie the Radio Chickadee Ubelis and her co-host, C.S. Bennett. You'll find them live here on Fridays from 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Date Time. Check out their website at Southern Sense, as in commonsense.net. It's that easy, southernsense.net. So sit back and relax. They're informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey.
Welcome to another adventure here on Southern Sense. As you can tell, I am here by myself. My co-host Curtis is having internet trouble. But anyway, I'm your hostess with the least mostest, Annie the Chickadee. We've got ourselves a great show lined up. We've got two fantastic guests. The first, he has been making all the rounds on all the major networks, such as Fox News, Newsmax. I've seen him on MSNBC and other stations. It is Mark Quann, and he's the author of a great book out called Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes. Use the buy, borrow, die strategy to get rich and stay rich. And he has promised to make millionaires out of everyday people such as you and I. And I have been reading the book, and some of the things I've been doing all along and didn't realize it, but he opened up a whole nother avenue of ways in which you can invest your money and get a good return and not pay taxes. So it's very interesting. We're going to have a lot of fun with him. We're also going to talk about the budget bill that just passed the House and is going into the Senate. A lot of controversy, a lot of talk about that. We're going to get into some of that also. And our guest on the second half of the show is Colonel Steve Bucci. He is a fellow at the Phillip and Truluck Center for Leadership and Development at the Heritage Foundation. It's been a while since we had someone back from the Heritage Foundation, since our friend had left, Tom had left onto better things over there. So now we have a new person, new liaison, and I had a nice little email chat with her back and forth, and we'll be getting guests once again from the Heritage Foundation. So thank you, Heritage, recognizing we do have a voice out here too. Anyway, want to welcome everyone that is listening up on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, as well as Rumble and Substack. And the program that we're using here is starting a new beta thing, so that if you're listening in any one of these things and you decide to make a comment, the comment should scroll across the screen so others can see you and also respond and have fun in the conversation. That's something new. It's exciting. And we're looking forward to having you participate in the show by entering into the comments or the chat rooms. Not all the chat rooms are linked, so I can't promise every single area. I don't think it's linked with, it may or may not be linked on our homepage. I don't think it is, which is southernsense.net. But if you're up on Facebook and YouTube or X, it should work when you post in the comments there. That said, we have a lot more to talk about. Things have heated up with this scandal with the Biden administration about hiding his cognitive abilities, as well as hiding the fact that he has had prostate cancer, has been diagnosed about 11 years ago. A lot to talk about on that one. That was floating around up on X as well as on the other social media networks. And, having lived with members of my family that had died from prostate cancer, others that have been diagnosed with it and battled it, including people very close to me today, they go for their PSA test every 6 months until the doctor gives them an all clear sign. And then they usually follow up once a year. And what really, really disturbs me about this is that he was diagnosed 11 years ago as a senator. Now, here's an important man, and I'm sure his family doctor and everyone else wanted to make sure he remained in that Senate seat. So, of course, they wanted to be up on his health. But Lord knows, I can't say for that. But as president and vice president, he has to undergo medical exams. And one of the things they have to do is check the prostate. So I don't understand how he served as vice president and as president and allegedly not having his prostate checked for cancer. That's impossible. So here we have his cognitive abilities being hidden from the public, but also his physical health. And that's just not right. And I do see some comments, and hi, James. But for some reason, Facebook's not floating across the screen. So as I said, the comments are being in a beta stage. I guess they have some things to work out. And I'm getting a message from the program saying can't post comments to some destinations. All right. So I guess Facebook is one of those. All right. But like I said, we're in a learning stage here, and we'll see how they can work the kinks out of this. Again, my co-host Curtis does not have the internet, and okay, but it looks like I mentioned going to another place where he can hook his laptop up and use the internet, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So we may or may not have Curtis with us. With that said, we also had the shooting down in Washington, D.C., where a member of a Marxist left group shot and killed an Israeli citizen and an American citizen. The couple were engaged to be, or going to get engaged next week when they traveled to Jerusalem to be married. This gentleman walked into the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. during a ceremony, approached four people, two couples, and shot two of them, two individuals dead. There's a lot to talk about on that. The rise of anti-Semitism, but also the unusual possibility of links to terrorist organizations. We'll be talking to Colonel Bucci about that when he joins us. Other things that are in the news is Trump's new beautiful Golden Dome, the new security net he wants to put in place in the next 3 to 5 years here in the United States. Looks like it's possibly being completed, could be completed in 3 years using various different technologies. Again, we'll talk to the Colonel about that also. It's more of a more in-depth takeoff on Ronald Reagan's Star Wars, because the second he mentioned this big, beautiful Golden Dome, I went straight to remembering Ronald Reagan with Star Wars, and everyone said he was nuts. So maybe not so nuts. He probably predicted that this is what would happen. There's a lot of other things that are up in the news, and we'll get around to all of them. Hopefully, Curtis in the near future will be able to sign in. Otherwise, I'm rocking and rolling on my own here. But those that listen to our show know that we start off each and every day with a dedication to a fallen hero. And today's dedication is going out to Corporal Dennis Francis Kelly of the Delaware State Police. His end of watch was Saturday, December 21st of 2021. And in this, from the Officer Down memorial page, it reads, Corporal Dennis Kelly succumbed to injuries he received when he was injured in a helicopter crash on May 20th, 1984, around 8 p.m. Corporal Kelly and another officer were practicing routine takeoffs and landings at the Sussex County Airport, present-day Delaware Coastal Airport, located at 21553 Rudder Lane in Georgetown, Delaware. While landing, the helicopter flipped on its side. The other officer was able to escape the helicopter and pull Corporal Kelly from the aircraft. Both officers were transferred to Peninsula General Hospital, where Corporal Kelly was treated for a broken neck causing paralysis. He remained a quadriplegic until passing away from spinal injury complications. The other officer survived his injuries. Corporal Kelly had served with the Delaware State Police for 7 years. He's survived by his wife, daughter, and 2 sisters. And what I will be playing for you is from the Delaware State Police, their Facebook page, the dedication they had when they placed his name upon their memorial.
On behalf of Colonel William D. Crotty and the women and men of the Delaware State Police, I would like to welcome you to our 2025 memorial service.
Greater love hath no man than this, than a man lay down his life for a friend. Today we want to remember and honor those who lay down their lives in service.
Today we honor those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, who were tireless public servants, who volunteered to protect and serve and went to work one day just like you and I did and never came home. Individuals who demonstrated unshakable bravery and a noble sense of duty.
Delaware State police officers in our state of Delaware are the gold standard of policing. They have been, they remain, and they will be going into the future.
Each name etched in this memorial represents not just a trooper, but a parent, a spouse, a child, a friend, someone whose absence is deeply felt every day. And today we solemnly add the name of Corporal Dennis F. Kelly to this revered roll of heroes.
Every trooper who proudly wears the uniform today does so with a deep understanding of those who came before. The troopers who gave everything, and the families of survivors who continue to inspire how we serve, how we lead, and how we remember. As we add Dennis's name to our memorial today, we remember all of our fallen and support our families of survivors. Together, we should embrace these gifts of memories that will bring a smile, warm our hearts, and remind us how special our time was together. I would like to read a stanza from a poem by an unknown author Dennis himself had included in his obituary. It's entitled, I'm a Trooper. I am a trooper. I have been where you fear to be. I have seen what you fear to see. I have done what you fear to do. And all these things I have done for you.
As law enforcement officers, we realize that service and sacrifice is paramount to making our communities safer for all. Every call for service presents certain unknown challenges and circumstances, where we place the good of the public before our own.
Our troopers, whose names are on this memorial in front of the academy, went to work fully expecting to return home at the end of their shift. Obviously, that did not happen. But I believe that each one of them died doing what they loved, being a state trooper. They were brave, and they gave their all for us.
Major Peter Sawyer will now begin the roll call.
Patrolman Francis Ryan. Sergeant Thomas H. Lamb. Trooper Paul H. Sherman. Corporal Leroy L. Lakites. Corporal James D. Orvis. Corporal Raymond B. Wilhelm. Trooper William F. Mayer. Trooper First Class Harold B. Rupert. Trooper Robert A. Harris. Colonel Eugene B. Ellis. Trooper William C. Keller. Trooper Ronald L. Carey. Trooper David C. Yarrington. Trooper George W. Emery. Lieutenant William I. Jerman. Corporal David B. Pulling. Trooper Kevin J. Mallon. Trooper Gerard T. Dowd. Corporal Robert H. Bell. Corporal Francis R. Schneibel. Trooper Sandra M. Wagner. Corporal Francis M. Collender. Corporal Christopher M. Shea. Corporal Grade 1 Stephen J. Ballard. Corporal Dennis F. Kelly.
Father, we ask for these who are still on active duty, the academy that's rising, the recruits that will be our shield. Lord, that you would, in a very real way, be their shield and their strength and their commander and their fortress and their stronghold and their defense against the very real evil of our world.
Let it be said, when we finish this race, we kept them free, we led with grace. Let it be seen, from sea to shining sea, beautiful America, living our legacy. Oh, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for the next generation. Let us be known as people of honor, humble and bold, faithful through fire. Let us hold firm to our convictions with wide open hearts, eager to listen. Oh, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for the next generation. Let us make room. Let us reimagine, welcoming voices with true compassion. Let's craft a world with hopes and dreams, the challenges known, and those still unseen. Oh, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for the next generation. Let us be sure, when our time has come, we gave them hope, we made them strong. Let it be said, when we finish this race, we kept them free, yeah, we led with grace. Oh, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for the next generation. Let it be said, oh, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, oh,
All right, and welcome back to Southern Sense. You're listening here again live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Rumble, and Substack, as well as our homepage, which is southernsense.net. Southern Sense as in common sense. And of course, I'm your hostess with the least mostest, Annie, the radio chickadee. Curtis is not with us today. C.S. Bennett is not with us for some reason. His internet went completely crashing down before coming on air. So they're without, they've got some cell phone service, but no internet in his area of Florida. And yeah, it looks like he's still down and out. So unfortunately, I'm going to be here solo. So I hope you can tolerate me. One of the things that was coming across the news is now it looks like the Trump administration under Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem and Tom Homan are actually tracking down and taking care of our illegal immigration problem, but we still have activist judges out there. We have a judge in Wisconsin that has been, I believe, I don't know if she was actually arrested or what, but she has been indicted for assisting the illegal alien from evading ICE. There were 2 ICE agents outside her courtroom, and she, and it looks like a clerk of the court, kept him busy while she instructed the illegal immigrant's attorney to take him out the back. That was obstruction of justice, and that's very serious. And here you are, a judge. You're here to uphold the law, not break the law. But she allowed him to escape. He was eventually tracked. They did eventually track him down and arrest him. That we do know. But here's another instance of a activist judges, actually, no, not just the judge, but an activist legal system. A progressive prosecutor had let an illegal immigrant teen off easy after a 90-mile-an-hour crash that killed a 24-year-old woman. And this was from Fox News by Louis Cassiano. And he wrote that the father of 24-year-old Caitlin Weaver condemned a progressive DA's lenient probation-only sentence after a deadly T-bone collision. The father of Caitlin discussed his daughter's death in a wrong-way collision. His name is John Weaver. The illegal immigrant teenager responsible for the crash received a plea deal and no jail time from the district attorney. Oh, and guess where this is? Aurora, Colorado. And we know what's going on over there with the Trinidad Aragua gang taking over apartment buildings and terrorizing the residents in them. The teenage illegal immigrant who killed the 24-year-old Colorado woman during a high-speed crash was given a lenient plea by progressive district attorney, allowed to walk without serving any jail time. 15-year-old he is, who had been publicly named, who is not publicly named because of state laws that shield the identity of underage criminal suspects, was sentenced to 2 years probation and, catch this, 100 hours of community service for the July 2024 death of Caitlin Weaver. The office of Arapahoe County District Attorney Amy Padden offered the teen a plea deal if he admitted his guilt in the deadly crash. Talk about just giving him a slap on the wrist. The teen was racing his Jeep with other kids at speeds of 90 miles an hour in a residential neighborhood in the Denver suburb of Aurora when he T-boned Weaver's vehicle at an intersection. It was an instantaneous death, her father said. Caitlin was waiting at a stop sign, speaking to her boyfriend on the speakerphone at the time she was struck. She was kept on life support for 2 days before she was taken off and her organs were donated. The teen suspect was arrested and charged with vehicular homicide. At the time, the Weavers were told by the DA's office it was a no plea offer case, so they expected justice to be served. However, in January, Padden, who received endorsements from Senator Bernie Sanders and Democrat Colorado Governor Jared Polis, informed the Weaver family her office would negotiate a plea deal. The Arapahoe County District Court inside the Arapahoe County Justice Center in Centennial, Colorado, is where this all took place. They said by doing 2 years probation, that's probably more than the judge would give if he pleaded guilty. How's that possible? I don't know how that is possible. But this is what has happened, and this is what we have with activist judges, activist DAs, and an activist justice system. With that said, we have with us on the show for the first time, and I have to apologize, Mark. I don't have my co-host with me. He has no internet. So
No.
Me, darling. Yeah. So
All right, it's two of us then.
yeah, somewhere in northern Florida, people are without their internet, so they can't watch us. But they
No.
us in the archives. So I want to welcome Mark Quann, who has a great book out called Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes, Use the Buy, Borrow, and Die strategy to get rich and stay rich. And I've started reading the book, and I'm a good portion through it. And I was looking at it, and believe it or not, I'd worked for American Express at one point.
Okay.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was starting to learn. I worked on the travel side, but people talk and you learn a lot of things. And
Yeah.
I said, all right, fine. I'm going to get myself American Express stock through the payroll system and just hold on to it and let it sit.
Yeah.
Well, of course, life happens and, things happen and you say, all right, fine. And I no longer have the stock.
Right.
So then over the years, the companies I had invested in changed hands. And went from one thing to another to another. And I had found buy and hold got bought up. And it was like a nightmare. So it was impossible for me as an individual, small person to do any investing.
Okay.
But now comes out something called Robinhood.
Right.
And boy, did I jump on that. It's like just a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there.
Yeah.
And I looked at my return yesterday. And overall, since I started investing, I've got a 26% return.
Nice.
So a few $100 have now turned into several $1,000s. And I'm just leaving it there and letting it sit. And I do a dividend reinvestment. And occasionally I'll throw some money in additionally, do a little bit, routine deposit. And it's all right, fine. I have amassed X amount of dollars. Let's go after this.
Yeah.
So I have myself half and half stock and EFTs, and the other half is cryptocurrency.
Ah, okay. I like it.
So I'm just leaving it sitting there. But now I'm coming to a point where I need to make repairs on my house.
Okay.
I've got an older house, and for a number of years, my late husband had been very, very ill, so things didn't get done.
Okay.
So I used what cash I had to make most of the repairs. And I won't tell you how much that was. That's about 1/3 of the value of the house I put back into it.
Okay.
So I need to make now additional repairs. And I don't want to touch this few thousand I have here. Now, my question to you is, my plan is to do this, to complete the repairs, check out what the value of my house is, because my mortgage company has it something like about $80,000 less than what its actual value is at this point.
Okay.
At my age, I can do a reverse mortgage, but I need a 50% equity.
Right. And of course, when you as soon as you said reverse mortgage, everybody checked out, right? They probably ran for the ceiling, and I love them personally. But yeah, there's obviously there's so many different ideas that I have. But okay, so first of all, just imagine if you'd kept that American Express stock and kept buying it.
I'm dying.
And what if you just kept buying it forever?
Mm-hmm.
And never stopped buying it for it, and you wanted to when you wanted to buy something, you didn't sell it and trigger the taxes, you could take a low interest loan and send it to your bank account.
That's where I was aiming, and you went exactly where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Because there is a separate account that I'm on as a joint owner on it, and that's got a nice big chunk on it. And in order to help me, it's my mother's, but she put me on there. And over the years, as I needed extra money to do that, we've been pulling it out. Now,
There's
as I'm reading your
good,
book,
good. Yep.
now I'm reading your book and I'm saying, okay, I've got high credit cards. I need this X amount of money, borrow from there,
Yes.
make the repairs. Now, do I have to pay that back or can I
No.
do it optionally?
No, you don't. No, you can even do it on Robinhood. You have to change a setting on Robinhood. Robinhood, most brokers don't like it when you borrow money and take it out because they'd rather have you invest it, right? So then they're building their assets. There's actually a setting on there, and we could have this discussion on exactly how to do it. Yeah, you have to change a setting, and you can actually you could keep investing in your stock and you borrow. It's a low interest margin, and you send the money to your bank account and do the repairs. That's how I would have, if we could go back in time, you wouldn't have done the repairs with the house. You would have invested and then borrowed and then done the repairs with the house.
Okay.
And that's general. Yeah. There's a general, just keep buying forever. Never stop buying, never sell. If you need access to cash, don't sell. That would trigger taxes. And to avoid those taxes and to avoid having to work hard, you just borrow money and send it to your bank account.
All right. I'm in my settings.
Yep. There's a setting in there. I can't remember what it is. I'd have to check my workbook. Remember, I've coached more than 500 people how to do this. It's in one of our courses in our classes, how to do it. And I can send you an email exactly how to do it. You have to actually change the settings, and it can't be done on your iPhone. It actually has to be a desktop login.
Oh, okay. I do have the desktop, and I also have it on my iPhone.
Yeah, I'd have to double check though. But I can send you an email or something like that and show it. Yeah, and then the other part is. Yeah, the other part is
my thought. I'm sorry, this is what my thought was, is to do that, to borrow the money, do whatever repairs, pay down my credit cards, and I'm going to cut a bunch of them up so I don't touch them. The others I'll put locked in a drawer and keep in my wallet only one or two.
Sure,
and they will be mainstay, which I pay off every month, so I'm not paying the interest.
Right.
But what the reverse mortgages at my age, I can turn around and live off of all the money I just invested in the house and not pay my mortgage. All I have to do is pay my insurance and my taxes.
Correct. So yeah, and you can do that. You can do a reverse mortgage, and then some people say that's horrible. You're losing the asset. No, you're not. You still own the asset. So that's not correct. Two, you could not make your mortgage payment that you were making. You can invest that, right?
Exactly.
You'll still have all of the appreciation of the house. Okay, is yours. But let's say it was going up and there was the debt and the house was upside down. You're not responsible for that. So it's the best contract ever. You're going into business with a bank and saying, look, my family gets to keep all the appreciation of the mortgage. But if it flips around and it's underwater because we're in a Great Depression, you still get to live there forever. And and you're not having a liability. So reverse mortgages, I used to do consulting on this in Beverly Hills and Malibu and La Jolla. Okay. In my previous company, we had a company called the Remy Group. We used to go to La Jolla and Malibu, and we do these seminars on how rich people would imagine the person in Malibu with a $10 million house.
Yeah.
And look what happened now. They have no house, right? If they would have reversed mortgage it, they could have bought 3 houses and they could have owned 3 houses in Malibu, called diversification, and they would have no payment because they could have bought it. So reverse mortgages work great if you use it to invest in other assets. If you go to Vegas with the reverse mortgage and put it on the casino, very bad deal. And by the way, I don't love debt. I only love debt when it makes me money, and it helps me avoid taxes. I don't like debt. I don't like credit card debt. We need to get rid of your credit card debt. We need to invest, borrow, pay off the credit card debt. Now the credit card debt's gone. If we're going to use a reverse mortgage, we have to hedge that with something. We have to reverse mortgage it, but then what other asset we're going to create that's going to grow faster than that reverse mortgage? So you can actually pass more money to your family. Right?
Mark.
And you can live and enjoy.
This is my co-host, Curtis C.S. Bennett.
Curtis. Nice.
He's here.
Curtis, the man with the plan. That's what I told. I told you're the man with the plan. So
yeah, I apologize for coming on late, but we had a power outage with the internet. But our question is this: how did reverse mortgages become so misunderstood by the public?
They used to be. They were, I think, again, I never really dug down this rabbit hole too much, but they were kind of predatory. Like you could actually lose the asset if you didn't. But today they're so regulated. I mean, you have to do courses. You have to do courses before you buy one. But again, if you reverse mortgage your house, let's say I was 62, I'd reverse mortgage my house and I wouldn't have a mortgage payment for the rest of my life. I'd take what I was putting on my mortgage payment and I'd start investing it. and I'd use the buy, borrow, die strategy. I'd build my assets, and then I'd borrow for another home, and I'd buy another home as an investment property. So as long as you're safely leveraging debt to make more money, you're avoiding taxes. And then there's all these tax advantages that can come into place. I can wipe out my W-2 paycheck. I can wipe out all forms of taxes, and then you can live tax-free, which gives you more money to invest in a buy, borrow, die strategy. It compounds. Once you start doing this, you can build your wealth very quickly.
Well, I'm lucky because of the way in which I retired on my disability. So I'm not paying taxes to begin with. But
Yeah.
I was not blessed with having children. So I don't have anyone to really pass the house on to.
Oh,
So if I were to go tomorrow outside of my current husband and my mother living with me, they'd have to worry about that. But at that point, I'm dead. What do I care?
total. Oh, reverse mortgage it and take as much equity out, invest it
And
with safety. I mean, it's strategic investing. We're not gambling. We don't gamble.
No, but
Right.
I would say I would take some of it and leave it as cash in a high interest savings account. So if I need
Yeah.
fast cash, I can go to the bank, boom, boom, use the ATM card, cash in my pocket.
Yeah,
But I don't carry cash normally. But in those instances, you want a little pile of cash nearby.
Sure, you want emergency. I call it dry powder. I don't believe in saving. This is called dry powder. Enough reference dry powder. It's like, I got to have money to shoot with. It's like any money sitting on the side that I can invest with, right? So,
All right, now what about gold and silver?
So I have a rule. I don't invest into anything unless I can take a loan from it. I call it dead money. Okay, I'll never kill my money. If I invest into something and I can't take a loan from it, deal killer. So that eliminates all retirement accounts, all of them. Okay.
All right. Well, then if you actually physically have the coins, though.
That's the problem with gold and silver is you can't eat it. You got to sell it. You got to, it's like really, you can't get dividends with it. It's cool to have. It's not a bad thing to have it, but it's more like a doomsday thing. Like, hey, I need some gold and silver because the world's really gone kind of quirky. So I just, if I were to buy gold and silver, here's what I'll do. And I'm doing this later is I can take a brokerage account. I can fund my brokerage account and make, money while I'm sleeping, right? I can build dividend income. I can build income with it. I can take loans by pressing the borrow button. I can send it to my bank account. So imagine I had $250,000 in my brokerage account and I could borrow 100,000. I'd take a loan of 100,000, send to my bank account. I would buy $100,000 worth of gold and silver, but I'd vault it. So you literally buy it and they put it into a secure vault. Okay. And then once it's in the vault, I can take a loan secured by the gold and silver, put it back in my brokerage account. So how much did my gold and silver cost me?
I got a question
You got me
for
confused. You got me confused.
Well, I did. How much did I have to work? So the 100,000. First of all, did I have to spend my time
You
earning
just
it?
you borrowed it off of there, so you're not paying any money for it. You're not going to pay
But
the loan back.
I bought my time back. I didn't have to spend my time earning it. So I bought time. Did I pay taxes on the $100,000?
No.
No. Did I have
You
to?
borrowed it. Yeah.
Did I have to fight inflation while earning the $100,000? Okay.
Well, actually, what about your initial investment, though? You still had to make an initial investment.
I had to initially make the investment, but again, I have tax codes where I pay no taxes. I can have all my income coming in, which is never taxed. That's also in the book. So my wife is real estate professional status. I've got the ultimate tax code. So I can have money that's coming in. I can invest it. But again, that $100,000, I own $100,000 of gold and silver. I literally did nothing. I literally paid no taxes. And once I put it in my brokerage account, I'll actually make money on that deal. So I own $100,000 of gold and silver, and I literally did nothing. And it didn't require any work. I just created another asset, literally by pressing buttons and signing a piece of paper.
Wow.
Mark.
Yeah.
What kind of residential properties are companies like yours looking for?
So I'm a very particular investor. My sole goal is to buy waterfront properties right now. That's all I look for. Okay. I just bought one in between Chattanooga and Knoxville. Where me and some friends, we bought 15 acres, beautiful Middle Tennessee River, beautiful property. That's what I look for, just because anything with limited supply goes up in value, and water with a view real estate with waterfront view is always going to go up in value. So that's my thing. I'll never buy property unless it's overlooking a beautiful view or mostly water. That's my preference. So.
Man, now you've got a great website called theperfectportfolio.com. Try to say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
I can't do that. But in your website, you actually teach people how to do this. So not only can they get your book and read how to do it, but you take them through certain lessons.
Yeah, I'll just give you a little bit of history on this. Like, I don't have a high school or college diploma. Okay, I graduated grade 9. That's pretty cool. I got a grade 9 graduation. I dropped out of school. I tried to go to school in Los Angeles, but I was in a really bad gang infested neighborhood, and I kept getting robbed by knife point at school. And then I got my teeth knocked out one day at school. It was that bad neighborhood, and I was like, I'm not going to school anymore. This is dangerous. I wasn't learning anything because the schools suck in Los Angeles. They're horrible. They're horrific places to be. These in the bad neighborhoods. So I was in a bad neighborhood. So I went mixed concrete with my dad, and then I actually went to college. I went back to Canada. Went to college for business and financial advising. I was like, this is a scam. I walked in. I was like, this is a scam. Credit cards, student loans, telling me I'm supposed to go work hard, get a diploma to get a job so I can go pay taxes and refund a retirement account. I was like, I'm out. So I left for California, no green card, $6 an hour as a security guard. And I started training to become a private investigator. I used to chase people around on workers' compensation in the most dangerous neighborhoods of Los Angeles for like 6.5 years. Like, it was the crazy stories on its own. I was a financial advisor, investment advisor for 15 years. I used to train financial advisors for a very big company. I was training hundreds of financial advisors, and I was the financial advisor for CPAs. I used to set up 401k plans for companies. And I was like, this is a scam too. I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, this whole system is just a big scam, right? It's like the mousetrap. Ended up writing my first book, my second book, and then 2018, I resigned. I literally gave up all my passive income I'd earned in 13 years as an investment advisor. Just quit one day, gave up a very large amount of passive income, walked out, released my second book. I started a company called Remy Group. We're doing consulting for rich neighborhoods of how to multiply assets using debt. And then I was during coronavirus, I had a triple short on the market. COVID happened. I had a triple short. I was betting down ×3. So I was making tons of money on the down. It hit the bottom. I turned it around, and I started going on Instagram and posting my trades on Instagram. And I was making a fortune. I made 28% in one day. Right. It is still on my Instagram. And my friends were like, well, we got nothing to do during COVID. So I wrote my third book, and I started The Perfect Portfolio, and we started teaching people investing. And then it was actually Newsmax emailed me early last year, random email. Hey, they have a book publishing division. They say, would you be interested in writing a book for us? And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, absolutely, yeah. So, and I was thinking of writing like a manual for the course, because I've taught about 500 people personally, ordinary Americans, these strategies. I do tax consulting for wealthy people too, where we teach them but I'm teaching the same thing to the person who comes to me with $100 in a brokerage account, like $100. I got to teach them the same thing. So yeah, I teach this stuff all day long. Companies growing very fast.
Man, it's amazing. Now you toss in what Trump has done in the new budget bill that just passed the House and is going into the Senate. And I used to work as a waitress. I attended bar in the Marine Corps Club.
Nice.
But being, I married the Marine. I divorced him later on. But I would always give tips. I'd always give tips in cash. Because a lot of times when you're working in the restaurant industry, depending upon who's the maitre d' or who you're working under, you either got all of your tips or you got a percentage of your salary being marked off on that IRS form saying that you earned these tips that you never physically got. They would be pocketed by someone else.
Yep.
So I always had the habit of handing out cash.
Yep.
The owner can't do that. If you got a waitress waiting on you in a catering hall, you give that person cash, because guaranteed the maitre d' or whoever's running the floor is going to pocket whatever tip that the bride and groom or whoever else gave them.
Yep. Yep.
But now I see Trump says no tax on tips. So now you see a lot of people put their tips on their credit card, which they're going to pay interest on.
Right.
So now I'm saying that, guys, if you do the tax and give them cash, you're benefiting yourself because you're not paying interest on that cash they could have given.
Yeah, I mean, no
There's
tax
a
on
lot of different
tips.
things you could that the bill here is helpful for. But on the other side, I look on the flip side going, oh, wait a minute now. Just make sure you don't put the tip on there. Otherwise, you're paying interest on that tip.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. That's great, but you need to raise your financial IQ and because you can actually take that tax-free money and funnel it into your brokerage account and grow your wealth and compound it with never paying taxes. If you need cash, press the borrow button, send it to your bank account. That's how people become billionaires. I've been doing it for 3 years, and my net worth is just skyrocketing. And I never learned this in the financial industry, by the way. You can't learn this as a financial advisor. The CPAs don't understand it. If you go to any university in the country, including USC, where they coined the strategy, you won't learn it. You can go to Pepperdine, Yale, Harvard, whatever. They'll never teach you the strategy.
Wharton School of Business.
Won't teach. Well, you won't learn Bible or die. It's the ultimate cheat code to retiring early and not paying taxes. And the thing is, like, yeah, it's funny that it's been around, but there's people in the Great Depression started using this. So it's not like a new strategy. It's the same strategy that all the billionaires use. And by the way, if you're a financial advisor, if you started teaching it, you'd be fired for selling away.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're a financial advisor and you learn this and you started talking about it, your broker dealer would call you and you'd be fired and terminated and blacklisted from the financial industry forever for the rest of your life.
By telling them honestly how people can save money and yet earn money at the same time.
Well, yeah. So there's like a number, right? So let's say you're a financial advisor and whatever. You're kind of like, you can't really give advice because people get sued. So you can't tell your client, hey, do this or do that, because then there's liability. So the corporations don't want to do that. So they can't really help you. So you fill out a risk survey and you end up with a portfolio that's 60% bonds and 40% stocks. Ridiculous. Like, you're never going to win like that. You're not even going to keep up with inflation. So they can't really help you because there's too much liability. But let's say you have $2 million in your brokerage account. You're probably going to get a okay portfolio, mostly mutual funds. You might beat the index, probably not. Now let's say you have 25 million in your brokerage account. They're going to come to you and go, hey, remember all that stuff we were teaching when you had 10 million? And that's not how we do it. We're going to open up a securities-backed line of credit, and you're going to keep investing and you're never going to sell it. And then we're going to give you a line of credit, and then you can live off the line of credit. You can fund your business. You could tithe to your church. You could do anything. You could buy real estate with that line of credit. And now you're in the big dog. Now you're in the billionaire class. But until you have 25 million, you're just going to get mediocre financial advice 99% of the time.
Mark.
Yep.
I came in a little late, but I'm gonna run this through real quick to see if I got it. You do reverse mortgage, so they own the house now, right?
Nope, not true. You own the house. You own the house 100%.
Okay. Yeah. Until you die or something, right?
Well, yeah. Instead of you making payments on your house, which are like, man, that's brutal. They just add interest to the loan. Okay. So they just add interest going. But whatever your payment was, if you blow it at Target or at Vegas, that's a bad idea. But if you invest that money, you can build assets in your brokerage account.
So you're saying you won't pay a mortgage?
No, you never make your mortgage payment again. No.
Okay.
No,
that's universal throughout that business. That's universal.
Yeah, it's all federal regulations. It's all the same all across the country.
You have to have available 50% in equity.
I'll give you a real story, okay? An actual story. Okay. There's a guy, he's from South America. Okay. He was a doctor where he's from, and it was in California this time. And I met him, and he was living in this really not very nice apartment with his family and his son. And he was a doctor back home, but came to the United States. He's not a doctor anymore. He had to go through schooling again. And his wife was a nurse. So they're living in this really unfriendly neighborhood in a bad apartment, just trying to survive. He calls me and he goes, hey, Mark, my family had some land back home, and they're going to sell it because there was somebody trying to steal it somehow, like back home. And so an attorney called them and said, you better get here, jump on a plane. We got to sell this land really quickly. Otherwise you could lose it through somebody trying to steal it. So they sold it. He got $1 million. Okay. He said, Mark, I want to live in Rancho Palos Verdes. There's a house there. It was $980,000. He had $1 million. And he goes, but I have horrible credit. I mean, he was self-employed, barely making any money. I have a horrible credit. I have no income. How can I buy this house? I said, great, buy it with a reverse mortgage purchase. Okay. He only needed to put $360,000 down to buy his home because he was an older gentleman. And then he moved into the home and he never had a mortgage payment. And he kept all the other money invested. He went through his education, he opened his practice, and he wanted to pay it off. So it went up. And then he started his practice. He was making money and actually paid it down. And he owns the home outright now. A reverse mortgage can go up. You can pay it down. You can structure it certain ways. As long as you take that mortgage payment that you were making and then you start investing it in buy, borrow, die. Now you're growing your wealth tax free. If you want expenses, you press the borrow button and borrow the money. That way you're growing the asset. You're never selling it. You're avoiding taxes. And you're actually using equity that, see, paying off a home doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. First of all, now you have more liability, bigger chance of lawsuits. What if you're in California and there's an earthquake and your home gets destroyed and you have no earthquake insurance? Well, everything, all of your work is gone and you're homeless. Look what happened with the people in Altadena and Palos Verdes. They're homeless now. If they would have reverse mortgaged their house and bought another couple of houses, they'd have 3 homes. They'd be sitting in great shape. Paying off your home doesn't make any sense. Anytime you make a payment, you pay more taxes and you just killed the money. The money's now in your home and not working for you. You're literally killing your money. I never pay off real estate. I literally just buy a property. I fix it up. Hopefully I can rent it. I'm using midterm rentals, so you can make a lot more money. We depreciate it. We just accelerate it. We use bonus depreciation. We wipe out our tax liabilities. We generate more money. We funnel it into our brokerage accounts. We grow that tax free. We borrow to fund our business. I'm going Bitcoin 2025. How am I paying for it? Pressing the borrow button, send the money to my bank account. That's money that didn't exist. I got a tax deduction on money that didn't exist. The government owes me money. Buy is you're living in a different universe.
Well, now we mentioned earlier cryptocurrency, and you mentioned it again. As I understand it, they're looking at maybe standardizing it. Is that good for us that have investments in crypto coin?
Bitcoin is, in my opinion, and you can do your own research. I don't give financial advice, right? Bitcoin is there's a rule. Anything with a limited supply goes up in value. Anything with an unlimited supply goes down in value. Okay, that's the basis. Okay, and I'll prove it to you. US dollar, Federal Reserve notes. Most of it is just bank entries. It's just they press a button and create money, and then when you pay it off, they press it and delete it. It's literally just virtual. It doesn't even exist. Okay? If you bought toilet paper went up because the dollar was going down. That means toilet paper has more value than our US dollar. So toilet paper is a better investment than US dollar. Okay? Bitcoin is going to have 21 million. That's it. 95% of it already exists. So 5% of the remaining Bitcoin in the world will be shared by all the corporations, people, and countries in the world are going to have to share in the last 5% that will ever be created.
The value goes up.
Correct. Limited supply. That's why do I buy real estate on waterfront? You can't create more real estate on the waterfront. It's impossible. That's why I only buy things with very limited supply. Gold and precious metals, limited supply. Those things.
Because I do have Bitcoin, the coin itself, which is limited supply. Then I picked up XRP, which has been going up.
That's good. Yeah.
And the other one is the Dogecoin.
I like Doge. Doge has some.
Those are the 3 I picked up. Yeah, those are the 3. It's a really interesting book, and as I said, I'm about halfway through it. But I was looking at the way I was planning myself as I was reading the book, and I says, "All right, I've already got this and this in place. I want to do X, Y, Z. Let me run it past him because I think I'm on the right path." And I'm figuring in a total of 5 years, I'd be to the perfect point where I can do the reverse mortgage.
Yeah, you probably get there faster. I'd have to look at your
Well,
situation and
well,
whatever. I mean,
I'm
I
sure
analyze
if
people's
I
situations, and I
if
could
I do
probably
a
get you
couple of
there
different
faster.
things, I could probably do it in 3. But I'm saying I'm giving myself a 5-year period.
Okay, it's fine.
I'll be in my so
In your 30s,
I'm a little older.
38.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, good Lord. That was several decades ago, more than
There you
several
go.
decades ago. But I do
Oh,
appreciate it. But the
yeah.
book is Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes by you. You can get it on your website, theperfectportfolio.com, or on Amazon. I downloaded the Kindle, so I walk around with it. That's
Nice.
it. I've got the Constitution, the Bible, all on my iPhone.
There we go. Awesome. Yeah, and definitely, if you're tithing to the church, invest the money, build a big account, and borrow and donate to your church. What did you just do? The money that you went to the church is now invested in your brokerage account. You borrowed. That money wasn't taxable. You donated it to your church. That's technically a double tax deduction. The government owes you money if you itemize it.
Well, what I did was when I did my original will, I said if my husband did not survive me, my house would go to the church. That is their worry.
Yeah, and you could even use a charitable remainder trust when you're alive, which gives you a massive tax deduction when you donate it.
But I
And
don't
then
need
you
a
could,
tax deduction. I don't need
right,
tax.
you don't, but I'm just saying there's if you just give me any scenario, anybody, regardless of their income, I can always show you a way to get your tax bill to zero.
Well, Mark, it has been a pleasure to have you on. We'll have you
Yeah.
back whenever you choose. Just say, get that crazy lady back.
Hey, yeah, let me know what you guys need. We show people how to start with $100 in a brokerage account. So anybody can start a buy, board, die strategy. It wasn't really possible 40 years ago. The things we're doing today were not possible. But we made it clear we will create 1 million new millionaires. I put my reputation on it. I always do what I say I'm going to do. I don't have a high school or college diploma. I've written 4 books. Right. And I'm 2-time Amazon bestseller because I just decided I'm going to do something. So I decided that I'm going to create 1 million new millionaires with this course. It might take me 10 years to do it, but it's spreading like wildfire.
Oh, I'm glad.
Our students, they won't stop talking about it. They're obsessed, right? Obsessed.
Well,
So
Mark,
that is awesome. Great meet you guys. And, maybe you dig down the rabbit hole and, if you dig down the rabbit hole and you want to have another discussion, just reach out to me and we'll do it again.
it was my pleasure.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
God bless Mark for the hard work you do. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Check out Mark Quann. Check out his book. And we have the other guest waiting so patiently. Now he's in our line of fire, Colonel and Dr. Steve Bucci. I am correct pronouncing that correctly.
You got it exactly correct.
Although, as my grandmother would go, Anuj, so what do you say?
Hello, doctor.
Hi, how are you?
But she also had another favorite saying. She goes, Anuj, the only difference between an Italian and a Jew, we put a tomato in our chicken soup. Well, you are now with the Heritage Foundation, and it was a pleasure to meet you. When Tom was doing the public relations, he'd send us someone every week. And now we've changed hands. I'm glad the Heritage is starting to send people back to us again.
So, all you have to do is ask. They'll find us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's always fun having you guys on. And I found your bio very, very interesting. Besides the cybersecurity and the military operations and you being special forces, 82nd Airborne, what didn't you do? Good Lord. You served in the Africa, in the Middle East, or all over the place. But you also taught, and I'm looking at the name of the college. I'm going, why is the name familiar but unfamiliar? C.W. Post, Westbury, Long Island, New York.
Yeah, it's Long Island
My stomping
University
grounds.
now.
Oh, they changed it from C.W. Post to Long Island. Yeah, because I remember there was that duck pond on the way between the high school and the college that we used to go bike riding and picnic at, in Old Westbury. These are my old stomping grounds. Man.
That was a fun time teaching there. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, matter of fact, my father went to college after all of us were born. So I remember him coming home at night with the books on the kitchen table to do his college, and he was going to CW Post. I mean, just you can't get away from it. Can't get away from it, but I have so much to talk to you about. Jesus, where do I even start? We've got, first off, coming up in July, I believe it is, the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army.
Indeed. It's going to be an exciting time. Apparently, we're going to have a really big parade in Washington, D.C. to celebrate it. That's going to be interesting. We don't normally do that kind of parade here in the United States. So I'll be interested to see how my brothers still on active duty, brothers and sisters still on active duty, pull this one off. But it's whenever you get to see all the big toys that we use in the Army, it's pretty exciting. Our toys aren't near as big as I see my colleague there with the U.S. Navy shirt on. His toys are a lot bigger than ours. Which, by the way, I used to, when I worked for Secretary Rumsfeld in the Pentagon, I had a big poster over my desk. And everybody would come in and go, why does an Army Special Forces guy have that poster up there? And it was a head-on shot from an airplane looking at a carrier battle group under sail in formation.
Very impressive.
I said, because you can have a lot of good airplanes, you can have a lot of good special forces guys, but if you don't have a couple of those things, you're really not a superpower.
No,
And
you're not going anywhere.
We'd like to have a couple more, but we got more than anybody else. And so kudos to the Navy. I give them great respect. It's harder for you guys to get your stuff in a parade, though.
It is. I was on the Nimitz and the Saratoga.
Ah, well done.
And I was married to a Marine and tended bar at a Marine Corps club.
And you survived. That's tough with the Marines. You got to watch them.
No, actually, I divorced him. And at the time I was divorced him, Colonel Kelly had at one point been, I believe it was Reagan's drug czar. He became the police commissioner for NYPD. And as I am going through a line, we were shaking his hand. It was a fraternal dinner. And he's looking at me. And he's looking at me like, I know you. And I said, yeah, Colonel Kelly, Gunny Hardy's ex-wife. And he goes, you look fantastic. At that point, I was assigned into Brooklyn. And he goes, you lose a little weight or something? And I said, yeah, I lost 165 pounds of ugly fat. Because you never weighed that much. I said, no, Colonel Kelly, I divorced him.
You hung around with the Marines for a while. That's your...
but I think it was a broken cop in me that got the rest of it out. But, there's a lot to talk about. We just recently had the shooting of an Israeli citizen, a U.S. citizen, tragically at the Jewish Museum in D.C. And, under Biden, there was a complete lack of security in a great many areas. And I don't think we still yet have ourselves back up to snuff yet to allow something like this to happen.
Well, in this case, it happened on the street in front of the museum. So it would have been a little tough to stop it preemptively. Firearms are not, easy to carry around in D.C. It's almost impossible, but not quite, thanks to the Supreme Court. But in this case, I'm guessing that the firearm that fella had was not legal. All you got to do is put it under your coat. He walked up, waited for people to come out of the museum, confronted them, and just started shooting. So this is not one we can really blame on anybody as far as security. Interestingly, after the guy unfortunately executed those two young people, he ran out of ammo, basically dropped the firearm into the bushes and walked into the building. And the people thought they saw this frazzled looking guy who's wearing a sport coat. He wasn't dressed like a bum or a terrorist. He was dressed like a normal person walking around Washington. And they offered him some water. They were trying to help him because they thought he had just been traumatized by seeing this killing outside the building. And then it turns out he was the actual gunman. And when this lady was chatting with him, being exactly, as humanitarian as anybody could be, he says, well, I'm the one who did it, and I'm glad I did it. And he started yelling, free Palestine and the other stuff. So interestingly, he commits this mayhem, comes into this group of Jewish people, and they start taking care of him. It's really something he obviously didn't deserve. But then fortunately he didn't hurt anybody else, and they were able to apprehend him and get him into the arms of the authorities. But yeah, very much a tragedy. And you're seeing what's really sad is, if you put anything on X or any of those kind of sites, there are a lot of people, not a majority, fortunately, but even a few are significant, who are applauding what that man did and saying, well, no, that wasn't a crime. That was just resistance. No, that was anti-Semitism, bigotry, and murder. And fortunately, the Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C. have already announced they're going to be seeking the death penalty for this character.
Good.
And I hope they get it, and I hope they get it sooner rather than later. It takes a long time, but this was so obvious. This is another example of the craziness when that kid Luigi shot the guy in New York.
Insurance,
and you have
executive.
people in all over the country say, "Oh no,
Applauding.
no, those insurance people are terrible. He was justified in doing it." Look, he didn't have a beef with that company. He didn't have a beef with that individual. He just picked him out and murdered him. And I'm sorry, that is not the way civilized people behave. If you've got a problem with an organization or a group of people, there are lots of channels in our society to seek some sort of accommodation with them, even to, if you think they took something from you or harmed you legally or physically, there's ways to deal with it. Not just grab a gun and go and shoot them because you decide, I don't like this person, so I have a right to kill him. No, you don't. Not in America.
Well, what I'm thinking is, because I've been talking about this for a long number of years. We've been doing this show now 15 years, where I saw more than a decade ago the influence of CARE. And they were going in and training our government employees on how to behave, and telling their members, this is what you do if you're approached by law enforcement or anyone else. And we were seeing the twisting of the perception. And we were talking about it more than a decade ago. But now it's gotten to the point where it is in our institutions, to the point where we cannot even protect ourselves on our own college campuses. And now Harvard is all upset and in arms because Trump took away their ability to host international students, but yet our enemies have seen a way to infiltrate us and destroy us from within. And then what this gives birth to is what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I got asked this, I think it was yesterday morning on the station, and they said, how did all these, foreign students get here? And I said, well, look, back in the 50s and 60s, these programs started because the thought process was, we bring them here, we expose them to all the wonderful things that are in America, and win them over, get them to change. And then the majority of them go home and hopefully seed that into their societies where there are not all the benefits and good things. We're not perfect, but we've got a pretty good life here, or we had it for a long time. And what's happened instead, because the faculties have bought into the same propaganda and ideological views of America's enemies, that instead of those foreign students coming here and being changed for the good, American students are going to these universities, sitting alongside these folks from other countries and getting harangued by the faculties that have bought into foreign ideologies.
How dare you?
Marxism,
how dare you?
Islamism, all those things. And so now the American kids are the ones that have been changed, and they're marching on the campuses next to agitators who have come in from outside and threatening other American citizens, calling for the downfall of our institutions. I'm sorry, it's got to change, because the people are not, no country in the world allows foreigners to come in and scream seditious things, try and convince people to attack their fellow citizens, and lets them stay there and be protected while they're doing it. That's just not the way the world works. But in America, we now have a thing where half of the political spectrum says, oh, no, you can't stop them. That's just free speech. No, it's not free speech when you're attacking someone. I don't care which ideological position you come from. You cannot use free speech as a weapon to harm other people. That's just unacceptable in a civilization such as we claim to be.
And yet you're subject to arrest and fine if in certain areas of New York you use the wrong pronoun. That is a crime. But yet to incite rioting, to incite harm by using speech, that's not a crime in their world. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. When the Black Lives Matter were having their riots and you went to their website, you looked at the associations that were associated with Black Lives Matter, you saw the Muslim Brotherhood. And no one raises the alarm except little shows like mine. And we're seeing this at the height of the George Floyd riots. It preceded the Floyd riots. It may have even preempted them too, if you look at it. So we are actually allowing ourselves to be destroyed from within, and we're worried about Trump raising the great golden dome over the world, over the nation.
Well, we shouldn't be worried about that. That's something that's going to help us. That a lot of people are getting kind of wiggy about that, because the name that he picked for it is sort of vintage Trumpian jargon. They think about, the Iron Dome that is in the newspapers and the news so often because it is protecting Israel so effectively. That is, if you will, at the tactical level, mostly because Israel is relatively small and its allies are all unbelievably close to them. I mean, this would be like New York attacking New Jersey. It's the distances are small, the weapons that they can use, the Iron Dome and all of its subsidiary pieces, they can stop intermediate range ballistic missiles coming from places like Yemen and Iran. It can stop drones. It can stop aircraft. It can stop mortar rounds, which is really amazing. It's a phenomenal system for that very compact battle area. What President Trump is doing is he is combining the concept that President Reagan raised,
the Star Wars
or Strategic Defense Initiative, which was thought of primarily as a space-based system that could shoot down intercontinental ballistic missiles as they approached America. Now, since then, that seemed very, science fiction-y, hence the name Star Wars for it. But when I worked in the George W. Bush administration, we put into place a system of ballistic missile defense that had three pieces to it. It had systems that we could forward deploy near our enemies. Think of the coast of North Korea, in and around the Persian Gulf near Iran. It was never designed to be big enough to stop the Russians or the Chinese, but that's going to be the follow-on. But it would shoot the enemy's missiles as they went up. It could intercept them when they was on the climb part of their flight. Then we put space-based systems of radars that we could launch interceptors that would catch those missiles as they flew through space on the way to their target and shoot them down up there. And then we'd have other systems, usually also naval-based, that could shoot the warheads as they re-entered the atmosphere coming down towards their targets. What President Trump is envisioning is taking the concept of the Iron Dome, the comprehensive nature of it, applying that in a strategic size and scope that would do what our ballistic missile defense stuff does against Iran and North Korea, but make it robust enough that we can also protect ourselves from countries that have bigger capabilities like Russia and China. So this is going to be, it's infinitely doable. We have the technologies.
Yeah.
We have the ability to build it. It's going to cost a lot of money, but personally, I think it's going to be money well spent because it will be the ultimate deterrent to our enemies, because they will understand, just as Iran found out with Israel, they could shoot hundreds of missiles and drones at Israel and none of them would get through. That's a waste of a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of effort. And then Israel comes back and spanks them for it.
Yeah.
We're going to have the same capability. Nobody's going to be able to hit the United States or any other target we decide to defend. And once we swat their stuff aside, then those naval vessels and other systems are going to do the other thing they do so well. And then the spanking will begin on the other direction. And hopefully nobody will take us up on it.
Well, there's a couple of things I want to delve into, because when I was looking at the statistics last year alone, 350 drones were in and violating our military base areas. And that's, the American public doesn't think about that. They think about the drones that came over New Jersey and they flip out, or the drones that the illegals and the gangs are using to trespass into the United States. But the fact that the military bases are being violated. Now, I live in the heart of the Tri-Command here in South Carolina, and you think about these things. But what really worries me is our electrical grid, our power grid. And as I understand, 500 transformers are already here in the United States made in China, and they put a kill switch on them. And I've heard many times politicians talking about uniting our power grid. I think we say disunited. You may lose power in Los Angeles, but you won't lose it where I live. If you unite them, then they hit a central system and they take out the whole country. So the power grid is something I am highly concerned about. And one of the things I like is they're taking the subsidies away from the green power and pouring it back into traditional. But yet they've also tied the nuclear power subsidies to the green power. And we've got to yank that back so we can develop the nuclear. So I'm looking at defense in several different areas. I'm hoping that that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah, this is, again, a very comprehensive issue set that requires a bunch of things. First is, we don't have one grid in the United States. We actually have three major sections of grid, but even within those three, they're really diverse. We have everything from gigantic corporations who run, the power grid over 3 or 4 states in one area, down to a little tiny municipality, a city, who runs its own electrical power all by themselves. Now they're tied together. There's regulatory connections and there's supporting connections. So if one goes down, they can redirect power from an area that is still good to share it with somebody who's having problems. If you had a unified system across the whole country, just as you point out, once somebody gets inside the hen house, all the hens are going to get killed. So having the diversity is an element of security. The problem is a lot of that same grid system are very old, legacy systems. They're very fragile. So we need to do a lot. We should leave our system diverse, but we need to make it more robust so that people can't get in and mess with it. Those transformers you talked about, you know what the easiest way is to attack those? It's not to shoot missiles at them. It's not even to put kill switches in them. It's have 4 or 5 guys with automatic weapons go up to some transfer station and just start shooting at them with old-fashioned bullets. Once you break the ceramics on those things, there's no stockpile of those transformers anywhere. You have to go back to Europe or back to China and buy new ones, which takes months and transport time and all that. So that part of the grid system is very, very fragile, very potentially risky. And we've got to do that better. At the very least, we got to put walls and fences up around these things so some idiot can't pull up in a car and decide I'm going to shoot at that because it makes funny noises when you hit the ceramics with your rifle.
Make it in America. Made in America.
Yeah.
Make it in America.
There's a lot to shoot at in America. Don't have to shoot at our electrical grid. But the whole cyber system, the same thing. It's not just the electrical grid. A lot of our our national infrastructure, which runs through cyber and digital means, there's a lot of people who have dropped little honeypots here and there waiting to use those in the future. Because to be honest with you, Americans, we love all that digital stuff. It's very convenient. It gives us the capability to do lots of stuff, have a lot of fun, buy things and have it delivered the next day, all that. The problem is very few people think about security. The whole TikTok issue of,
don't get me started on that one.
Oh my goodness, you can't take TikTok away from us. My crocheted hat business is going to go down. That's where I sell all my stuff. Well, I understand that. Find another platform to sell your hats on. That system is a tool of the leadership in communist China to attack our culture, to gather information on our citizens. Nobody with any brain should be on TikTok.
Propagandize.
I remember when all that came out, and then the next thing you see, there's President Biden doing stuff on TikTok. It's like, why? No one understands
or as my husband calls him, bumble brain.
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess he had an excuse we know now, but this kind of, it's not just TikTok. There's lots of systems like that our adversaries and enemies utilize to get at our infrastructure, our financial infrastructure, our electrical infrastructure, other utilities like water and things like that. It's not that hard to mess with them. And there's a lot of people who are really good at it trying to do that. And if nothing else, they're just robbing us blind. They're stealing our intellectual property hand over fist. Some of it's nation states, some of it's just criminals. It's baffling to me that the FBI, this was 5 or 6 years ago, said that criminal organized crime networks make more money off of cybercrime now than they do off of drugs, weapons, prostitution, all of that stuff combined, gambling. Those are small pieces of the pie now. Internet crime is the biggest moneymaker for organized crime. And a lot of that is because, Americans are just clueless about it and think, well, it's not a big deal. The bank will cover it. Yeah, but at what point does that break down? And now we're all in deep trouble.
Yeah.
So
there's so many ways to attack us. And we leave ourselves wide open and vulnerable. The innocent American, we've got to wise up and not be the innocent American anymore. And we've got people like you and Heritage Foundation out there working hard for us to slap us in the face and wake up and smell the coffee. And we've got shows like this that have been talking about this stuff for years. And it's ironic that we're using cyber material here to broadcast, but how else are we going to get the word out?
Well, we should use these things. We don't want to go back to the Stone Age. That's self-defeating. That's like we're just going to turn the internet off. Well, that's kind of what the bad guys want us to do anyway. But we need to do it smartly. We need to do it well. We need to adequately fund the defensive efforts we're making to protect these things. And a lot of it comes down to the humans. You and I, all the people listening who use these systems, you have to do it smartly. You can't click on everything that comes up. I got to tell you, I used to give talks on this all the time. And if somebody sends you an email and says you won the Irish sweepstakes and you get all happy, think, did you buy a ticket for the Irish sweepstakes? If you didn't, you cannot win. So why do you open up that guy's email? And for gosh sakes, don't click on any connections that are in that email or any of the other multitude of things. And there are still people answering the Nigerian prince's offers to move money around. Come on, guys. Nigeria doesn't even have any princes.
What I love is that we get these phone calls saying that, we need to take care of XYZ. You owe X, give me your number. I says, listen, you're a voice on the phone. I don't know you from Adam. If I owe you a bill, you mail it to me and I'll pay it that way. But go ahead, Chris. We got 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I found it amusing that you said people are having problems with the name of the defense system that Trump wants to put in place. I mean, he could have called it the big, beautiful umbrella. They would have had problems. But my question is this. If he were to even suggest putting a defense system like this in Taiwan, do you think China would let that happen? Will they look at it as though we looked at Cuba back on the Cuban Missile Crisis? We're not going to let the Russians put in a missile system. Would that happen, or would that lead to World War III?
I don't know if it would lead to World War III. If we put in a defensive system, I mean, if we do anything with Taiwan, the Chinese are going to get totally ticked and beat their chest and stomp their feet. If we put a defensive system in, we could probably argue it and, we'd get past it. What the Rush or the Soviets tried to do with Cuba, they were going to put in offensive missiles in Cuba. Now, if we did that, I think the Chinese would go nuts. I don't think we have any intention to do that. We don't need to do that because we have the United States Navy. We could sail up and have those capabilities right there on the surface of the sea. But we do have to, look, we could beat China in a fight today. No doubt in my mind. I don't think we want to do that because it would be costly. It would be a tremendously difficult and big conflict, but we need to stay ahead of them, and we need to make sure that we are spending enough so that China understands it's really not worth it to mess with these guys. They're a big nation state. They're going to push back on us all the time, but we don't want them pushing back so hard that we end up getting in a shooting war. If somebody attacks us, this particular president, he'll go after them. But, we're not looking for a fight with anybody. As President Trump likes to say, he just wants to do business. And he really means it. He just wants to use commerce. He wants to use those economic elements of power, not the other stuff. But you can't protect those things if you don't have the old-fashioned hardcore elements of military power to go along with
big stick.
Well, Kurt, we're out of time. This is it. We're down to our last 2 seconds. Colonel, it has been a pleasure, and we welcome you back anytime. People can find you at the Heritage Foundation. Heritage.org.
That's it. All right. Okay. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
We say, from that point, good night and God bless.